Today, we're talking about the world of comic books and its presence in Southern Oregon. The local scene has been evolving over the years, and it's about to take another step forward. In 2015, the Medford Comic Con was born as a one-day event. By 2019, the pop culture and comic convention had expanded to 2 days and was attracting over 10,000 attendees. There was a brief pause due to the COVID pandemic. Then the convention's planning committee rebooted the convention as the Rogue Comic Con. Its seventh annual event took place in May, and now the same organizers are offering a new event, Rogue Comic Expo, on Saturday, August 9th at the Phoenix Civic Center. On the Fly Comics is an independent publisher who will be selling their indie comics at the Rogue Comic Expo, and I have two of their three founding artists in the studio with me today. Welcome, Mark Melton and Matt Case.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
So, guys, how did you get involved with Rogue Comic Con in the first place?
Well, I started the first one, I think you said it was in 2015, something like that. And it was just one room in the Medford Library. So it was just really small scale. It was on a Friday afternoon. And so I had my one comic book. I'd been drawing for, I think, 9 months. And so I got to share my comics with a few people.
Yeah, and you were sort of empowered. They were welcoming of that, so they'll meet you where you're at as an illustrator, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one too was actually the only one with my own comic book. There were other people selling, like Marvel and DC comics, and so it was really fun to meet other people who were, interested in my book.
And Mark, how about you?
Well, what's funny is that's where I saw Matt for the first time. I didn't even know he had comics or drew. Which, inspired me like, wow, there's a Comic-Con in Medford. I had no idea. And then from that point forward, we kind of just met up and started drawing and jumped on any opportunity to be at the Comic-Con. And then just applied every year.
That's great. And that's why they sent me to you guys, because you've sort of seen it from ground zero and grow just exponentially. So, what a perspective you have. So fast forward to where it's drawing so many attendees. Obviously, it has a hugely higher profile now. So set the scene for us who haven't been at a comic convention.
They're amazing. Like, they're so welcoming to everybody. I think the main highlight is people can just be themselves, and there's no judgment. They can come in, they can be nerd out, buy some comics, dress up, and just connect with people of the same like mind.
Nice. What's your impression?
Yeah, it's the same. One of the things I love about these Comic-Cons now is, it brings this more to the forefront. I know when I was younger, it wasn't necessarily cool to be into nerd stuff. And so with the Comic-Cons, I feel like it's really brought it around. So it's created this community of people where you can come in and really get in depth with, the stories of the comic books and all that.
Yeah. And I know, I have a feeling it's just under people's noses. A lot of people just don't know about it, but they're here in the community. Even here in downtown Ashland, there's one or two, small stores. So people can know where to find them. And do you get the sense, do you guys and do other enthusiasts sort of travel around to other conventions? Is it that kind of thing?
For sure, yeah. There's huge conventions in every state. I had the pleasure of going to Wizard World in Philadelphia, and that was an amazing experience. Got a table there, Artist Alley. But yeah, I think for sure everyone wants to hit as many cons as they can.
Yeah, once you get a hit of that energy, and just it's so refreshing to, meet people who are like-minded, geeking out over the same things as you are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just meeting a lot of the other creators just in the area has been amazing as well.
Nice. Well, tomorrow's event, it is going to be smaller, at least for now. Who knows how much it'll grow considering the flagship event. But at the Comic Expo, there's going to be 24 vendors, and I'll just name a few of them. Astral Comics and Games, that's a gaming and comic shop in Medford. There's Rogue City Comics, which is also based in Medford. And there'll be local artists as well, just individuals. One of them that caught my eye was Courtney Cameron. She'll be there with her popular cat comics. And what titles will you guys, your publishing organization is On the Fly Comics. What titles are you going to be bringing to the Comic Expo on Saturday?
We have a little bit of something for everybody. We have a title Rosemary, which is kind of an Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz type of comic. We have our collaborative comic where all three of us work on it together, called Hyperia. It's a sci-fi. Matt also has Desert Bats.
Yeah, that's my personal title. It's called Desert Bats.
Okay.
Just came out with a trade paperback of that. The book I'm currently working on is called My Demon Babysitter. And it's kind of a fun, all ages comic book.
I see that. The question is, what would you do if your babysitter was a demon? So good practical problem solving.
Oh, absolutely.
And yes, the Echoes of Dawn, the fantasy Rosemary, a whimsical wonderland. You mentioned that. And then we have Theo, a character-driven adventure with a sharp edge.
Yeah, that's Vince's book. Yeah, he's been working on that for a while, and this is his first prologue to the beginning of the whole story. So it's definitely one that people should pick up.
That's right. Vince Rush is one of your co-founders, and
He is.
unfortunately
Yes.
he couldn't be with us today, but we know he's going to be listening at some point. Just a quick reminder that you're listening to The Creative Way on the Jefferson Exchange. I'm Vanessa Finney, and I'm talking with comic book artists Matt Case and Mark Melton of On the Fly Comics about the Rogue Comic Con, whose mission is to encourage literacy and innovation through arts, literature, popular media, science and technology, gameplay, and design. So we've gotten an overview of the Comic Con and the expo, and I'd like to get more into a little bit more of your individual work as artists and then your collective work at On the Fly. So we'll put up images of your work on our website, but just for now, Matt, why don't you start by tell us how you got into creating comics yourself, and how would you describe your storytelling and art style?
Yeah, I was kind of late to the game when it came to comics. I played music for a long time, and I was in bands, got the tour a little bit. Then once I got married, had kids, business, I didn't have time for it, and so I needed another creative outlet. So I thought, hey, maybe I can draw. I can do that at home, and
Yeah, so you jumped in, and who would you say some of your influences were?
well, my favorite artist, his name is Jake Parker, and he does all ages comic books. He does like Scholastic and stuff like that. I also love Scotty Young, who's kind of one of the bigger guys at Marvel right now.
Yeah. And now that you're a dad, do you find yourself sort of gearing? I mean, you have insight now into kids. Now, I know
Oh,
comic
yeah.
books aren't just for kids. I don't mean to isolate it like that, but do you find yourself sort of playing to your team now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my personal comics are all ages comics.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun sharing that with my kids. And my son, he's doing some stop motion animation. And so there's a lot of crossover between that and making comic books so we can talk about storytelling, camera angles, things like that. So it can really bring us together.
That's right. That's part of the nitty-gritty art of it, isn't
Yeah,
there? I mean, just
absolutely.
how to frame something on a panel. What are your considerations there? Do you have any tips for, you might have somebody who was in your position back in 2015, just starting and
Just
trying
starting
to
out.
figure out how to do it?
Yeah, my recommendation is just jump right in. The first thing I did, I made a mini comic, which basically is take a piece of paper, fold it in half twice, cut the top. So it's just a little tiny comic. But I think it's important to go through the whole creative process, but it's on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So that way you have the struggles, but then you also have the victory at the end with the finished product. So yeah,
Yes.
definitely start small, but then ramp it up each time because you're preparing yourself, to make those longer and longer form stories.
That is so key, what you said right there, the victory at the end. You have to give
Yeah.
yourself those small successes.
Yes.
And sometimes to get a success, you have to do a tiny little output. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, it's so easy to get discouraged as an artist, is it
Yeah.
not?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why it's
Oh, yeah.
important to start on that small scale
Yeah.
because that section of the creative process is much smaller. So many people we talk to, they want to make a comic and they're like, well, I have an idea for, a
100
200-page
issues.
graphic novel.
Yeah.
that the difficulty
Well,
in
that was
that.
me, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I just had an image, cut to the artist, his head down on his desk, sobbing. He's so overwhelmed.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, we don't want to see people give up. We want
No.
want
Yeah.
to encourage people. We want to, see other people's comic books and see their work.
Do you do any mentoring of young artists?
I don't myself. I have a mentor. His name is Ted Hellard, and he's been absolutely amazing. He helped me, I feel like progress a little bit quicker than
Yeah.
I would have just on my own.
That's true in any subject, I think. Mentorship, just that hand-holding. And actually, you mentioned when we were talking before about when you're at these events like the Expo, the Comic-Con, people will come up to you and sort of pick your brain for advice, right? So that's sort of informal,
Absolutely, yeah.
on the fly.
On the fly, exactly. And one of the great things is we have parents come up with their kids, and the parent will say, "Oh, my kid loves to draw," and they'll have their little sketchbook right there, and so they can show us, and so we can just encourage them.
Oh,
And
I love it.
I absolutely love that. And
And just to see their eyes light up and they walk away feeling like, oh, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
That's pretty special.
That's wonderful. Well, Mark, what's your creative journey been to becoming a comic book creator, and what would you say distinguishes your work?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been drawing since I was a little kid. Always been into comics. Huge influences were Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and
And what are some titles, just for people who might not be familiar with
Todd
those
McFarlane.
names?
He worked on Spider-Man
There you go.
and Spawn.
Okay.
Jim Lee did X-Men. So a huge Marvel fan.
Yeah.
And I started making comics when I was in 6th grade, and then just kept going. Took a break, of course, through high school because it wasn't cool. But when I saw, Matt still working and making comics, I jumped back into it, and we've, formed On the Fly with Vince. And
I actually read a funny story about, your origin story. I guess there was some kind of challenge to complete a book in 10 hours. Tell me about that.
yeah, so we all met with, we draw every, Friday with Ryan Moon. He's a local painter, oil painter. And we decided we wanted to do a 30-page comic in 10 hours. So we each had to do 10 pages, and that's like literally 1 page an hour. So it was a lot of work, and you're just going super fast. And it turned out pretty cool, and that was the start of our title, Hyperia, which is the sci-fi comic book.
Is
And
that
really,
a series
it's a series.
Yeah.
We're working on issue 4 right now.
of a sci-fi adventure?
Yeah, and after we were done with that challenge, Vince said, hey, we just busted that out on the fly, and then the rest was history.
There you go. And by the way, quick note, I hear you saying you paused in high school because it wasn't cool. For you young people out there listening, you're going to be vindicated because this thing draws thousands of people, right? So don't worry about that at all.
Right, exactly.
Not at all.
Be true to yourself.
Yeah, totally. There's an audience for everything. Do you guys strictly stick to your own narrative work, or does On the Fly have clients that you illustrate projects for? I noticed little arts on your website, little art cards with characters.
So I do a lot of pop culture characters for people, commission work.
Yeah.
So I do, besides just the comics that we create together and on our own, I will pick up any commissions that if somebody has an idea or a character they want me to draw, I'm always down for that.
Okay, great. And you can be reached through otfcomics.com, right?
Yeah, that's our website and has all our comic books on there, has all our
it's
commission work.
Instagram and
Yep.
all that.
Okay. We've got about 30 seconds left if you just sum this up. So you have a brand new anthology series, and you say there's stories that don't quite fit anywhere else. What do you mean by that before I let you
Well,
go?
that's going to be our OTF Presents book. So what we're doing is we're each doing short stories, and we're all going to just do a collaborative project. So you never know what you're going to get. The first issue is going to be Matt, Vince, and I, and then the next issue we're bringing in other artists who tell short stories as well.
Okay. Thanks for that. Well, Matt and Mark, it was great talking with you and learning more about the art and culture of comics. Have a blast tomorrow at the
Thank
Expo.
you.
Hopefully it gets a big draw. You've been listening to The Creative Way. My guests were Mark Melton and Matt Case of On the Fly Comics. You can find them at the brand new Comic Expo happening Saturday, August 9th at the Phoenix Civic Center from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a free event, and you can get details at roguecomiccon.com.